Rera no mai tātou, no mai ki tēnei rā e whakahirihira. Te mamahara ngā o nā mate o te wā ki muri. Would you please stand to sing the national anthem? Let us pray. Kaurora, kaurora. Kaurora ki te rangi ranga, kaurora ki te whenua. Kaurora ki nā tangata katoa ki te ao nui ki te kaukako tēnei rā. E mamahara ki nā mate, e kaha e manawa, e manaki e whakawhānau. May life arise in the heavens and on earth, among all people in the wider world for our task today. To remember the dead, to gain strength, to show hospitality and grow as a family. Kaurora ki pūtaki ki te whae ao ki te aomara, turu whakamau ki a tīnā. Omi e hui e, tai e. Me noho. I'd like to call upon Mr. Andy Fraser, Principal of Otaki College, to address us.
Tēnā tātou. Ka rere aki rā, taku manu ki te tihi o ngā pai maungo o Tararua. Ki te tiro whakararo ki ngā awa e toru e rere mai nei ki a Otaki. Ka tau ki raro ki wainga nui i te iwi o Ngāti Raukawa ki te tunga. Whatu naro te moa. Whatu naro kōkaku. Whakanaro anō hoki te huia. Engari, ki te iwi kei konei tonu, i takatu ana i te mata o te whenua. Hoi anō, ki oku rangatira, kua tau ki te karati o Otaki, ki te whakanui i tēnei kaupapa whakahirahira o te rānei. Ka nui te mihi ki a koutou. Nau mai, hara mai, whakatau mai. Hoi anō, ka huri au i roti te reo Pākehā. I want to acknowledge that although birds that we've had in the past in our Tararua ranges, the kōkako, the huia, the moa, have passed, I want to acknowledge our mana whenua here today, Ngāti Raukawa ki te tonga ngā hapu o Otaki. We sit on Rikihana whānau here, and I want to acknowledge our kaumātua of our college who's here to support us today, Rawiri Rikihana. I'd also like to welcome you all to Otaki College, among of whom are many distinguished guests here today. I'd like to acknowledge the Kapiti Coast District Mayor, who worshipped General Holborough, the Chair of Ngā Hapu, who could not make it and sends her apologies, Denise Hapata. And given the focus of this ceremony, I would especially like to acknowledge all the members of the New Zealand Shipping Company Association who have come here today for what I consider a pretty special occasion. I'd also like to acknowledge representatives of other merchant navy associations, along with the Navy and the Air Force, for their presence here today to acknowledge the 150th anniversary of the founding of the New Zealand Shipping Company and acknowledging its 100 years of service, taking people, mail and cargo between New Zealand and the United Kingdom across the oceans of the world, both in war and peace. Each year since 2017, Otaki College has held a wreath-laying ceremony in March to recognise the sinking of the SS Otaki during World War I by the German ship SMS Merva in a battle in the Atlantic Ocean that saw courage by both ships. And as a consequence of his heroism, resulted in the Otaki's captain, Archibald Bissett Smith, being posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross, and that has drawn Otaki College and Robert Gordon's College in Scotland into a long-standing and unique relationship. The ceremonies have also provided the opportunity to acknowledge the vital contributions made by the merchant navy of this country, not only in war, but also in times of peace. However, this year, while we acknowledge the tragedy of the SS Otaki in 1917 and the importance of the merchant navy, the focus is on the company that owned and operated Otaki and was established 150 years ago. I'd like to first talk about the company's early years. The New Zealand Shipping Company was incorporated in Christchurch in January 1873. Its particular ends of the company were the conveyance of immigrants and cargo between New Zealand and London. With the shareholders limited to New Zealanders, it was a tentative assertion of this country's independence from Britain. The company's first 10 years was successful and characterised by high levels of activity. 10 months after it started, the company had chartered 18 vessels and purchased 2. It had entered also into a contract to build ships. In January 1874, the chairman of the board reported that 37 ships laden with cargo had sailed from the United Kingdom to New Zealand, 6 ships had sailed from here, and 6 were taking cargo in London. As well as cargo, under a government program, the ships also, which were sailing ships, carried large numbers of immigrants, nearly 11,500 in 1875. Voyages were, at this time, not without risk for passengers or crew. The deaths among passengers were not unusual, and it was not uncommon for ships to suffer substantial weather damage or be lost in storms. During this period, there were a number of notable achievements, and in 1882, the company's ships were equipped with refrigeration, and a frozen meat service began from New Zealand to England. The first company ship fitted with a refrigeration plant, Matura, arriving in London in September 1882 after a voyage of only 103 days. In 1883, the company acquired its first steamship, and by 1899, all of its sailing ships were disposed of and 15 steamships were built. The same year, the New Zealand government awarded a contract for monthly mail services between Britain and New Zealand to the New Zealand Shipping Company and one of its rival competitors, Shaw Savill. Within 5 years, however, the company's position was to change. The high cost of new steamships, increased competition for British shipping lines, low profits, and some financial casualness meant that in 1887 the New Zealand Shipping Company ran into financial trouble and was taken over by British investors, although the company retained its registration as a New Zealand company. Turning now to the two world wars, at the start of the First World War, the New Zealand Shipping Company had 21 ships. The Federal Steam Navigation Company, which it had taken over in 1912, had 11. The first ship lost in action was the SS Kaipara, which had sailed from Lyttelton for London on the 11th of July 1914. 2.5 weeks before the war started on the 28th of July, it was sunk by a German auxiliary cruiser on the 16th of August. During the war, 11 company ships were lost and others had been damaged or out of action for long periods. In a book written about the First World War, for the company, it was noted by the esteemed maritime author S.D. Waters, who wrote, "The story of the part which its ships and seamen took in the Great War of 1914-1918 is the proudest tradition of the New Zealand Shipping Company." At the outbreak of the Second World War, the New Zealand Shipping Company and the Federal Steam Navigation Company had a similar number of ships to those at the start of the First World War, 20 and 16 respectively. The first of the company's ships to be sunk was the Tirakina by a German raider in the Tasman Sea in August 1940. 34 members of its crew were killed. The company lost 19 ships during the Second World War. And now, the New Zealand Shipping Company's final years. In the early 1960s, the company, with the Federal Steam Navigation Company and the Avenue Shipping Company, operated a fleet of 38 cargo vessels and 4 modern cargo passenger ships. The company also maintained a regular passenger service to the United Kingdom. However, in the mid-1960s, everything changed. The advent of container ships and the development of air travel led, after almost 100 years of service from shore and sea by men and women of the New Zealand Shipping Company, to the company's full absorption into the General Cargo Division of P&O Lines in 1971. Of this moment, the company's story, Gordon Holman, in his History of the New Zealand Shipping Company writes, "So the old and strong roots of the New Zealand Shipping Company went to support the new structure, and the spirit of those who served in many ships of a fleet that lasted nearly 100 years found a new home." In closing, I'd again like to formally welcome past employees of the New Zealand Shipping Company who are with us here today to mark the 150th year of the New Zealand Shipping Company, and allowing us the honour here at Otaki College to acknowledge this very special event. I'd also like to acknowledge Babcock New Zealand Limited, which is New Zealand's largest ship repair and marine engineering business, and who are major contributors to our Everest Scholar Fund, which allows a scholar from our college to travel back to Robert Gordon's College in Aberdeen each year. And finally, I'd like to thank all of you invited guests who are here today to, I hope, enjoy what should be a very special occasion. Nō reira, Pirirona, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā tātou katoa. Kia ora.
Lako e te rangatira. Andy, or tō kōrero. It's a shame the New Zealand Shipping Company's not still around. They could perhaps help our inter-island ferries and get some good service down there. I'm going to sing a song, Wai Wai Rā, which means how can we stand on a marae? And it's through these things, tika pono and aroha, through what is right, through faith and spirituality, and through love. Me tūtātou. The keynote address by Captain Roger Blake, President of the New Zealand Shipping Company, to address us.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Greetings to you all. Before starting my address, I would like to give, on behalf of the New Zealand Shipping Company, a big thank you to Andy Fraser, Principal, David Ledson, Coordinator, and the college staff for using this year's service to mark the 150th anniversary of the New Zealand Shipping Company. I also acknowledge the members of the New Zealand Shipping Company who are here today. Among them are those who served at sea and those who served on the shore. Wherever they served, their contribution was vital to the successes the company achieved. I was with the New Zealand Shipping Company for 11 years, most of that time at sea. My final position in the company was Chief Officer. I enjoyed my time with the company, and I'm proud to be able to say that I served in the New Zealand Shipping Company. These ceremonies have, over the last 6 years, not unnaturally, focused on seafarers at sea in wartime. However, the sea can itself be a ferocious opponent. Whether the mariner goes out on great waters, in wartime or peacetime. A reality acknowledged by the words of the mariner's prayer that asks, "Preserve us from the dangers of the sea and the violence of the enemy." So I thought I would use this special occasion, the 150th anniversary of the establishment of the New Zealand Shipping Company, to tell you 3 short stories to shine the light on the dangers of the sea and move its beam away from the violence of the enemy. The first ship will be called Otaki. It's not this one, but the second one was a sailing ship built in 1875. She had a reputation as a fast ship. The best time for the New Zealand to England line was in 1877, when she sailed from Dunedin to London in 63 days. At the time, a 100-day voyage was considered to be a good result. The voyage, though, to Lyttelton in 1880-1881 was memorable for quite different reasons. Off the Tasmanian coast, the ship encountered a gale, which the Lyttelton Times of the 6th of January 1881 recorded, blew very fiercely and the sea rose to a great height. Large quantities of water breaking aboard, filling all the cabins on the main deck to a height of 4 to 5 feet. Turkina was the largest of this company's sailing ships. She was originally built in 1868 for another company and purchased by the New Zealand Shipping Company in 1883. In 1898, outward bound to the United Kingdom, Turkina encountered weather so bad that all the skylights, poop rails, top gallant rails and bulwarks were swept overboard. The ship moved about so much that men had to be lashed to the wheel to enable the ship to be steered. The voyage on this occasion took 191 days, nowhere near the 63 achieved by Otaki 21 years earlier. Finally, in more modern times, the case of the Federal Steam Navigation Company's oil tanker Lincoln. In later years, ships were built much stronger and able to withstand storms much better. However, dangers to seafarers remained the same. In the early 60s, the Lincoln was battling large seas in an Atlantic Ocean storm close to the island of Bermuda. The chief officer, who was there, Mr. J. F. Milner, and a cadet were making necessary checks on the foredeck. A rogue, huge wave was about to hit the ship. Mr. Milner pushed the cadet away to safety, but was caught by the wave himself. Mr. Milner received life-threatening injuries and spent a year in Bermuda Hospital. Even after his ordeal, upon recovery, he continued to serve at sea and became one of the company's most respected captains. In my years at sea, on occasions, I experienced seas as ferocious as that described in these stories. On other occasions, especially out in the emptiness of the vast open spaces, I have experienced and enjoyed windless and sunny days, arching over a sea, glass-like in its smoothness, which stretched from horizon to horizon. This, of course, is the sea that I prefer to sail upon. As these memories are to the sea, this pepper heart is to life. And I say it on behalf of the members of the New Zealand Shipping Company to the students of Otaki College. Te kea hora ti marino, kia whakapapa paranmu te morna. Kia teri ti kara roi, I mui I tō huari. May peace be widespread, may the sea glisten like greenstone, and may the shimmer of light guide your way. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain, for those memories. We now got the Kōrero Tuatahi o Nehera, first student historical reading. I invite Mr. Witana Cameron to address us.
While ships were vital to the company's operation, as Gordon Holman writes in his history of the New Zealand Shipping Company, that seafarers have the frontline job in the shipping business, it is true to say that no shipping company could ever get far without the loyal support of a large and capable shore staff. And while it is true that no ship or shipfare or seafarer can be successful without great support from people ashore, the compelling stories inevitably emerge from the things people do upon the sea. Consequently, stories to do with the sea tend to be about seafarers. This is such a story to come out of the Second World War. In September 1940, a company ship, Sussex, was returning to the United Kingdom from Australia when 2 bombs from a German bomber dropped from a height of less than 100 metres, hit the ship and started a fire. The aircraft was driven off, but the ship was now without operating control. The ship's crew, with the exception of the gun crew, fought the fire, concentrating on a wooden locker in which was stowed a large amount of explosive material. One of those fighting the fire was Assistant Steward Frederick Trump, who was 20 years old. Notwithstanding the danger he climbed with his mate on top of the locker. His efforts were instrumental in the fire being extinguished and the ship being saved. Sussex Captain of Tranlee's efforts. His devotion in fighting the fire and the Cordites was outstanding. Stuart Tranlee was awarded the George Medal, a medal granted in recognition of acts of great bravery. He was also awarded the Lloyd's War Medal for bravery at sea, established by Lloyd's of London, and an insurance market closely associated with the maritime industry. To honour seafarers who performed acts of exceptional courage at sea. 7 months later, and promoted to second steward, he was serving in another company vessel, Highport. On the 18th of May 1940, she was torpedoed and sunk by the German submarine 0107. She had been on passage from Albany to Freetown and Liverpool with refrigeration and general cargo. 10 of her crew were lost, including second steward Tranlee. Frederick Tranlee's name is among the names of almost 24,000 British seamen and 50 Australian seamen who died in the Second World War. Listed on the wall of the sunken garden of the mercantile marine World War II located. In his actions in desperate times, in desperate circumstances in September 1940, he clearly demonstrated the behaviour by the execration. Ki whia koutou, kia ora, wherever you go, be great.
Kia ora witana. We're going to sing now to Grow in Love, Waiata Arawanui. Will we please stand?
Ai
Korua o Mehera, the second historical student reading, invited by Te Ako Ipiha, Ringa Tau Awhi Awhi, the deputy head of the school, to speak to us.
The New Zealand Shipping Company frequently reused ships' names. There were, for example, 4 ships named Piranui, the first built in 1875 and the last in 1948, and 4 named Tongariro, the first built in 1883, the last in 1966. The Otaki, sunk in 1917, was the second ship to carry the name. The last ship named Otaki was built in 1953. This story is about the ships called Remuera. There were 3, and the first built in 1911. From August 1917, she was taken up as a troop ship under the liner requisition scheme. In that capacity, she carried far more than the peacetime complement of passengers. 2 voyages after the war returned not only troops, but many wives and children resulting from the troops' time in Britain. She was in action again in the Second World War. On the 26th of August 1940, she was bombed by 4 German aircraft and sunk off Scotland. All 93 crew and 1 gunner took to their boats and were saved. This ship had notable achievements. In July 1916, she was the first New Zealand Shipping Company passenger vessel to transit the Panama Canal, which had opened in 1940. In July 1924, she transported the All Blacks on their second tour of the British Isles. This team was known as the Invincibles. They won all 32 of their matches. The second ship with the name had originally been built for another shipping company and named Parthia. She was bought by the New Zealand Shipping Company in 1961 and renamed Remuera in 1962. In 1965, she was chartered by the Eastern and Australian Steamship Company and renamed Araman. 3 years later, she was sold to the Federal Steam Navigation Company, and in 1970 she was broken down. The third Remuera was built in 1973 for P&O, but carried New Zealand Shipping Company colours. At the time of her building, she was the largest refrigerated container ship in the world. She could carry 1,703 20-foot containers, of which 1,151 were refrigerated. The ship was also the fastest container ship in the world, with its 4 steam turbines and twin screws giving a service speed of 23 knots. In 1977, the ship's name was changed to Remuera Bay. Her name was later changed again to Berlin Express. Under this name, her final scheduled run to Auckland was completed on the 17th of March 2002. She made 1 further voyage to Hamburg, this time under the name Press, and was then broken down in China in June 2002. What was once a magnificent vessel, the last to take the presence of the New Zealand Shipping Company out upon the seas, was now no more than a memory. But those who served in her would have quietly said, "Ka noho tonu koe, ki roto I tōku pū mahara. You will always live in my memory."
Kia ora te ako, ngā mihi. A little prayer now for the Merchant Navy. Nē noi tātou. E kupu tēnei hei mamahara ki te Merchant Navy. We will remember with gratitude the skills and service of the members of the Merchant Navy, without which service people and supplies would not have reached or been delivered. We remember those who lost their lives. We give tribute to the Merchant Navy and give thanks. Amen. We're going to listen to the band's playing a hymn for us, Eternal Father, Strong to Save. Arera he roimata aroha, the laying of the different wreaths. I'll call out the names and those people come forward and they'll be guided with their wreaths. Ms. Janet Holborough, Mayor of Kapiti Coast District Council, on behalf of the citizens of Kapiti, together with Kaumatua Rawiri Rikihana, on behalf of Ngā Hapu Otaki. Witwam, President of the Arctic Convoy Club, on behalf of all those who served at sea in the Second World War. Roger Blake, President of the New Zealand Shipping Company Association, together with Captain Tony Dates, Chairman of the Durham Association. Mr. Paul Baggett, the Vice President of the New Zealand Merchant Navy Association, together with Captain John Mansell, Warden of the Wellington branch of the New Zealand Company of Master Mariners. Lieutenant Anna Bergen, on behalf of the Royal New Zealand Navy, together with Air Commodore Sean Sexton, on behalf of the Royal New Zealand Air Force. together with Mr. Jürgen Zetscher, First Secretary, Embassy of the Federal Republic of Germany, on behalf of the German people. Ms. Sophia Budovenko, on behalf of the New Zealand Merchant Service Guild. Executive Committee Member, Otaki District Memorial RSA, on behalf of the Royal New Zealand Return and Services Association, together with Ms. Hannah Thompson and Mr. Caleb Smith, Otaki College Nakakakura, on behalf of the students of Otaki College. Fittingly faced by the Otaki Commemoration. This will be the last post-paid flags load. The ode recited in Te Māori and English. And after that, a minute's silence. We stand, please.
Kaore o rātou rua koe. he moa nā tua rangaranga ki. Kāore he puti i o rātou mahina. He tākere waikura tō rātou tuhu whakamaharatanga, e takoto pū ana i te uma o tangata. E kore rātou e kou mātua tia pēnei mō tātou e mahina. E kore hoki rātou e moikore, ahakoa pēhia i ngā āhuatanga o te wā. I te hekenga tō te rā, tai noa ki te aranga mai te ata, ka maumahara tonu tātou ki a rātou.
They have no grave above the full sea, no flowers like the a rusting hope is the tombstone of last. They should grow not old, as we age shall not weary, nor the rest of the year. After going down in the sun, and in the morning, we will
Rere ngā whakamohimeki ki a tāku katoa, e tāmei ana, e whakanui tēnei rā. Thank you for being here for our ceremony today. I was praying about the rain, so just a little bit. Our final prayer and blessing. Ko ea te riti ngō te rā, ko ea nā roimata, ko ea te tipiro ki mua, ki muri. Nō reira, mā te ata tatu manaaki e te aki hoki, ki rungi ngā whakahiwi o ngā tūpuna e arataki. Our service is completed, our tears are shed, our memories refreshed. May our God care for us, protect us, and guide us to stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, especially all those involved, the young people, staff, parents of this college. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa, kia te whai o tō tātou ari ki wehi praiti. Ki araho o te atua me te whiwhinga tahitanga ki te wairua tapu. Ake, ake, ake.